My name is Tony Mwebia, and I am the Executive Director at Men and FGM in Kenya. So I will be your host for today, and I will begin by stating the purpose of this webinar. So for a long time, men have been seen as the missing link in the quest to end FGM. We have had statements like FGM is done by women on women for the purposes of benefiting the men. So today we are bringing together like-minded activists from all over Africa who have been doing amazing work in the fight against FGM and child marriages and other forms of sexual and gender-based violence. And we want to have an open conversation with them to be able to see how we can engage men actively in the fight against FGM. So it's going to be an open conversation, and we will be able to give the participants time to be able to ask their questions. And we want to tackle the basics of how do we engage men, why, what, and we will be able to answer all the questions that people have been having around the same. So if you allow me, I will start by introducing the panelists that we have. And to go first in no order, I will begin with Dr. Morisanda Kuyate. He is a Guinean medical doctor and a current executive director of the Inter-African Committee on Harmful Traditional Practices Affecting Health of Women and Children, IAC. He serves as the national director of the hospitals, and he served as a national director of hospitals and director of the Division of Reproductive Health. He was also the president of the Red Cross of Conakry. He is the initiator of the February 6th International Zero Tolerance Day on FGM and the UN General Assembly Resolution 67/146 on intensifying the global efforts for elimination of female genital mutilation. Say hi, Dr. Morisanda.
Hi, good evening to everybody. I'm so happy to be with you. And I'm so happy to see more and more men, engaged in the fight for elimination of female genital mutilation. Long time ago, I was alone.
Wonderful, and we will continue joining and having a mass movement in this fight, in the fight against FGM. So next, I will introduce Dr. Chris Ugu. He is the executive director of Men Engage Nigeria Network and a gender activist by passion and commitment. He coordinates the activities of Men Engage Nigeria with the overall objective of working in partnership with all relevant stakeholders to promote the engagement of men and boys in achieving gender equality, promoting health, and reducing violence against women and girls, especially FGM and child marriage in Nigeria. Welcome, Dr. Chris Ugu.
Thank you very much, Tony. Together we must end FGM practice in Africa. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Next, I will introduce Hassan Istila. Hassan is a journalist and a media campaign to end FGM in Somalia. He is using media in transforming negative masculinities by not just speaking against FGM, but also allowing men and boys to take an active role in ending FGM in Somalia. Welcome, Hassan Istila. Hassan, you are on mute.
Okay. Yes, can you hear me now? Good evening.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Hassan. So thank you, Tony, for the introduction.
Welcome. Next, we have Catherine Diacono. She is a gender activist and also a founding member of the Men and FGM Foundation in Kenya. Welcome, Catherine, and we are proud of you for being the only lady in the panel today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as I hear men talk about FGM.
Finally, we have Meresi Isaiah. He is an equality and diversity champion and owns a bachelor's degree in sociology. He was born and brought up in Transmara in Narok County, which is an FGM hotspot county in Kenya. Growing up, he witnessed female friends drop out of school and get married at as early as standard 4, immediately after undergoing FGM. Welcome, Meresi.
Thank you so much for joining this wonderful platform.
Wonderful. So with no, I'll just begin with the basics. And I want us to have a smooth chat. So I will begin with Dr. Chris Ugu. I know you are the Executive Director of Men Engage Nigeria. And you're in control of, or you oversee the activities of many men in Nigeria. So tell us, why do we need to engage men in the fight against FGM?
Thank you, James. I think it's important to really underscore the fact that men control activities around families, which is why we have a very pronounced patriarchal system in operation in Nigeria. It is the men that determines, it's all about unequal power relationship. It is the men that determines what happens in the family, whether on issues of gender, sexual and reproductive health issues. It is the men that determine call the shots. And in any case, it is also the men that have the resources to be able to say one thing and be able to implement it. Women are, as it were, disempowered. In other words, decisions relating to even the body of the girl child or the woman is determined by the man. So, by way of why are we now involving the men? We're involving the men because if the men are the cause of the female genital mutilation practice for their own favor, as it were, because they will tell you, oh, why we are doing that is because we want to stop women from being promiscuous, want to be clean, marriageable, and all that. So in other words, the whole idea about marriage is all about how will it affect the man. And for so long as the man is not in the equation that determines whether this has to stop, that practice will continue. That underscores the reason for involving men. To be able to win men to our own advantage, we're making use of the media to be able to get champions among the men who would also, but if you leave this matter with men alone, we have tried it over the years and it didn't work. When women begin to be their own spokesperson on ending female genital mutilation, we need to involve the men, whether at the governmental level, the family level, the church level. It becomes very, very imperative that men has to be part of the vanguard to end this gender-based violence that manifests itself in female genital mutilation and child marriage. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will be posing the same question to Dr. Maurice Sanda Kuyate. I know you said when you began, you were like the only man who was speaking about this. So why do you think we need to engage men in this conversation around ending FGM? You are on mute, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So let me go quickly. Before talking about that, I would like just to ask this simple question. What is the situation now about men? Before talking about FGM, let us take a look back at the relationship between women and men in Africa very quickly. The boy is the most solicited by the family, and she's free to play, to go to school if there are any in his locality. The daughter who was born was solicited in the second row. She grew up and she's hired as housekeeper immediately. And the patriarchy system gives almost power to men and encourage girls and women to submit. Example of microcredit for women and men, macrocredit for men and microcredit for women. Everywhere, we know that. And getting involved in the issue that affect women often seen as a discount for men. So what is the influence of the gender ratio of the fight for elimination for female genital mutilation? I see that one. Men and even communities believe that FGM is exclusively female situation problem. The circumcision exciser is a woman the victim is a girl, and the practice is surrounded by taboos and esoteric phenomena. So some people were asking me, what are you doing with women, Dr. Kuyate? You are a man, you are a man. What are you doing with them? You should not be there. Something that it's like circumcision and excision are the same, so we don't need to discuss. It's easy. Many people make the confusion between the fight against FGM, and for them it's a part of the battle for gender equality. That is a little bit different. In some communities, FGM is seen as a way to tame women through the control of their sexuality. To circumcise, to excise a woman, it is to decrease her libido and therefore make her docile. So one day I asked a exciser practitioner, I said, "Ma'am, why are you doing this cutting?" And she replied to me, she said, "But I'm doing that for you, Dr. Kuyate, for the men, to get clean your wives, to make them docile for you. So we are working for you." So you see, men often say, can do nothing against the will of my mother, my aunt, who decided to mutilate my daughter. So for some men, they say, it's not my, I'm not powerful in front of my mom or in front of my auntie who decided to cut my daughter. Very, very, very difficult. So when you see that, you will see that we have to show to the man first that female genital mutilation, of course, we have the term female, but it is a violation of the right of women and girls. So it's a part of the universal rights. Violence against women and girls. It is a violation of the physical and psychological integrity of women and girls. So it's a part of fight for universal rights. It's a practice, a social and societal phenomenon, and not only feminine problem. So as such, the fight against FGM must include men, absolutely, to me. And let me finish quickly. Before the role, what is the place the men? Before talking about the role of a man, let us talk about his place in the society. This is very important. Men are heads of household. Men are religious leaders, Muslim and Christian. Men are village and community chiefs. They are fetishists. They are members of parliament. They are majority as minister. They are heads of states. Today, we have only 2 heads of states in Africa. 2, only 2. Mrs. Samia, Tanzania, and Mrs. Saleh Work in Ethiopia. Men are magistrates. They are the majority lawyer. They are police officer. They are gendarme. They are military. So they are keeping all the place in the society. So before talking about their role, we have to do, they have the most important place in the society. And that is really, it's a big problem for us. We have to revert that. So what we have to do with them, for men and boys, they must play an important role. They must be sensitized, empowered, and involved, and not make them feel guilty. And this is a big problem also. Why they are not here? When you go to the conference, you will see people talking against men. They are not good, they are against us, they are ignorant. So no, if we go there, they will say, okay, so because I'm ignorant, I'm against them, so I will stay in my corner. We have to show to them that we need them. They must be at the center of this fight. So for education, for awareness raising, especially among young men and boys, and to convince the men and boys, we today, I'm so happy to see you men, we have to convince our peer to say, don't have any fear, don't be scared, come and fight for your right, for the right of your sister, your mom, your wives, and your daughters.
Thank you so much.
We have to make the adoption and implementation of the law. The judges are men, most of them are men, so we have to let them play this role. So this is why I think we need the men, and we have to consider that it's a problem, societal problem, is not feminine problem. And the most thing we can do with that is with the media. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be coming back to you in a while, Dr. Kuyate. So straight to you, Kate. I will ask you, have men been engaged enough in ending FGM? I know you have been working with the men and FGM and doing several trainings in Kenya. So I want to know, have men been engaged enough from your experience? You are on mute, please.
One thing I would like to say is this: men have not been engaged enough. Actually, if you look like in my country, it is only men and FGM who have started engaging men in this fight of ending FGM. And there is a very big gap, because as other panelists have said, men hold a key role in our society. And if the same power they have outside there or in other things, they are engaged or they are sensitized, because that is the thing. There's a gap, because most of these men, they have no idea what FGM is. Because most of the time when we go to the field, we start day one, men as when after we start training, you hear men saying, it is not our issue. These are women issue. Most of the time, men will even say, we don't know how it is done. We don't know even who does it. But the moment as you continue to give them knowledge about FGM, especially about the media, the video, the FGM video, that is which mostly we do on the second day. After that, you hear men now, they start opening their heart and confessing how their daughters were taken for FGM. And because of that, they will open up. So one thing I've noted is that there are fewer men in ending FGM. It has been forever a women business. And I keep on saying FGM is done by women, on women, for men. If men today will have that knowledge and they know really what is FGM, because there are so many myths outside there. What is FGM? Why FGM is done? My other panelists are saying they do it for this one or two things. But when those myths will be nullified and they get to know, because one of the myths I've had outside there is if you don't cut the clitoris, it will continue to be long, it will reach up to the knees. Those are some of the myths which should be nullified. And through that, as we continue to educate men, we will end FGM first.
Thank you so much, Catherine. So I will go to Moresi. As a young man, do you think men have been engaged enough in the fight against FGM? Moresi? Is he with us? Then we can have Hassan. Hassan, you can be able to answer that for us. As a young Somali man, do you think men have been engaged enough?
Yes, thank you. I think the short answer for that question is no, not enough. But first of all, we need to answer why do we need to engage man? I think we need to get people in the community to understand why we need to end FGM. And this will have a positive impact on the development of the woman. Again, we need to change the way communities see women and see a gender relation. Men are the backbone of the society, and they are mostly decision makers, and they are in the power mostly. So what I believe is that the men and boys are the key players in helping to end female genital mutilation in our community. So whenever you as a man raise such issue in a society like Somalia, there are those who condemn you. You should not talk about this because this is a cultural issue. And there is another group of men, maybe they are saying, this is not concern us. So for example, in Somalia, there are sometimes that even the women can't talk about FGM, but after a long time and also increasing media campaigns against society, against FGM in the society, it is another level where now the man can talk about FGM and engage in the society. So I think the man, they can play a pivotal role, but it is not enough. For example, there is people in our community, especially men, those saying this is a women issue and you need to stay away. And but when you see how they are now understanding this issue is a human rights, and also it is great effort to be part of it and engage in this issue. I believe men have a major role to play, and in society, men tend to stay silent about thinking that are happening to women. So even when they know it is happening, because it has to do with female body parts, I think the answer is it is not enough.
Thank you so much. So I will go back to Dr. Chris. Dr. Kuyate talked about men going to conferences and sometimes feeling that they are not welcome. It's something that happens sometimes, that men feel that it's not their space. So how do we make sure that we encourage our fellow men to join the campaign against FGM? How can we be able to encourage them?
The question is, oh yeah.
Is it for me? Hello?
Okay, Dr. Kuyate.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things that we can do is to give to them some responsibility when they are coming for the meeting. Let's think that they will be maybe the vice president of conference or president of conference or something like that. I know that will not be agreed by some feminists who said, no, why they will be president in our conference? No, man. So we have to be more intelligent. We want to bring some soldiers. So we have to do all our strategy. If the man comes to be president for 30 minutes or 1 hour, president of the country, he will be confident about himself and he will see himself very considerate and he will join us. So give to them some responsibility, visible responsibility, and some, honor to them to ensure them they will be the welcome person, not this is what that's based on my own experience. I started by taking the luggage of women when we started Inter-African Committee. When we go to the airport, I'm the one who is, taking all the luggage at the airport. And now, with the confidence of my committee and the president of Inter-African Committee, Madame Lamizana, is now online with us. So slowly. Now, today I have the confidence and I'm the executive director. So it's important to think about that. This is my own experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuyate. So Dr. Chris, give us some of the practical examples of how you have been engaging men in the fight against FGM in Nigeria, so that a person who is in this panel today who has no idea on how to engage men and wants to go and do some practical things after this webinar can be able to go and implement some of the good things that you've been doing in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Examples.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes. One of the things you must know about human nature is that human nature would always want to know what is in it for me. And so we've come with that approach to be able to find what men would ordinarily like to be a motivating factor for them to be engaged fully in an effort to end female genital. And the practical approach we've always adopted is contained in UNICEF's 6-point framework for ending female genital mutilation. The third bullet point of that framework talks about do no harm principles. Don't talk down on men, because we have been in some workshops where people begin to say, oh, this is anachronistic, this is an evil custom. But over the years, we've come to find out that it doesn't work. As soon as you begin to condemn the activities and actions of men in relation to female genital mutilation practice, you throw them off, you lose them completely. So there is this aspect of making men realize that it's actually in their interest to ensure gender equality, to ensure that especially when you show them films where a young girl is being circumcised, that's being mutilated. I mean, there is a case where the man began to shed tears. He didn't realize, for the first time, he's beginning to realize the kind of damage, health-wise, that he's doing to the daughter. This young daughter sometimes grow up and begin to have VVF, and then very difficult incontinent. I mean, men, it had a way of making men feel sober and remorseful for this practice. And at the end of the day, you begin to see many of them coming out to be enrolled as our champions. Today, we have men champions based on the experience they have now had. In fact, there is this particular man who said that all these years, the daughter got married, but there's this issue of VVF and dripping urine as she does her work. And she didn't realize it was because of female genital mutilation that is bringing her daughter to this kind of challenge. And she said, never again would I allow anybody connected with me to be mutilated. More importantly, I'm now a vanguard. I'm now a champion. Here am I. Use me, he would always say. And today, it's making definite impacts. We've also been able to get some state actors, powerful state actors in government, who their children were mutilated as a child, and they are beginning to have this kind of challenge also. So they also enrolled into the vanguard of making sure that in Enugu State, we have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law of 2019. It was because of the way we were able to engage the state actors that particular law that criminalizes issues of female genital mutilation eventually became a success. So, I mean, there are plethora of examples, but there are these two. Number one, don't talk down on men. Don't make them feel, oh, it's a criminal offense, it is a heinous act. Make them realize by taking them through in a listening process and then show them by evidence that it is not right. You will win them more than condemning them. And that is why we believe very strongly in do no harm principles. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. I can say that we have so many questions coming in, and from the discussion that we have had so far. So I want to allow Naima to have some reactions from the participants, those who want to ask one or two things before we continue, because we touched so pertinent issues. We talked about feminists and people not allowing men to contribute, and these are some of the things that elicit a lot of emotions and reactions from people. So we could allow the participants to react, and then we will be able to continue.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. It's really amazing. I mean, if anybody has any contribution, any questions, any queries, I know we have a few questions in the Q&A, but you can raise your hand. So we have, right, let's have a couple of hands raised. I'm going to allow you to speak for a couple of minutes. Let's allow Ali Muhammad to speak. Go ahead, Ali.
Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
We're doing well, thank you. How are you? We can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Thank you. If I may start, first I'm greeting all the male champions who are here and the females who are working closely together with us. If I may go back a little bit, Tony Mweba actually asked Hassan about the Somali community's issues. If I may go on deeply into the Somali community. Somali first oral society. They communicate through oral things. And then in our culture, we respect the men. We respect them as a father, husband, a community leader, a religious leader. In those parts, they are praying in the society and end the harmful practice of FGM. The other thing is through religion again. We encourage or we use the men as a means of belief and behavior, as the idea, and then to regard FGM as an impact, so that can become something that can be preventable and affordable. Education again, a man can actually, as a leader of the home or the society, he can educate on the negative perspective of these harmful practices, because I think 100% of the Somalis are Islam, and then there's no any place where our religion allows the issue of FGM. And as again, Somalis, they are pastoralist communities, whereby these major things that I talk about is the people now who are staying together. When we go against the pastoralists actually now FGM is another factor that is disturbing them, because I have toured a lot of remote areas, and then out of my experience, some women that I've communicated with them, or some male even I've communicated with them, we exchanged some dialogue. They told me that this is a transitional from the little girl. She tell you, I have inherited or this issue from my mother. The mother, you ask her again, she tells you from my grandmother. You know, this is something that, so this gap can be closed by actually educating them, going them, and then showing them some videos that how the male are participating in the urban areas. Actually, again, in the Somali, again, we have another culture whereby the male and the female having a dialogue, especially in the pastures. Some of them, they don't come together. So we have encouraged them to have a dialogue, what is happening on their children, especially the girl child. Also, we normally do these days, unlike before. I have shown them a good example as a male champion. Why do we do the circumcision of a boy or a boy child in our public places? Unlike we hide. Hiding a girl, we are showing them this is everything. I don't want to go further.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ali. That was really great contribution. We absolutely agree. Education is key. Religious leaders' involvement is really key. A lot of African communities are oral societies as well. So I think videos are very powerful. We will have a very powerful video to play very shortly. But thank you very much for your contribution. We'll allow other people to speak now. Thank you very much. Okay, maybe we'll have some contributions from Rodrigue. Please tell us where you're from, where you're calling in from today, and please keep it very short. If you have a question or a comment, please keep it as succinct as possible. Thank you. So, here we go. Over to you, Rodrigue. Should be able to speak, I think. Please unmute yourself, Rodrigue.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Hi, everyone.
Yes. Hi, hi, good evening.
My name is Rodrigue. I'm in Ireland. I'm a champion of change.
Welcome.
Working into the issues of female genital mutilation among migrants living in Ireland. So I'm also ambassador always to raise awareness around and fight the problem of FGM with and FGM network, EU network. So with my experience here in Ireland to involve men, I'm working with men living in direct provision. We use tools to tell men about the danger of FGM. As FGM, we used to consider like a taboo issues. We must use tools to tell them as FGM is very bad. So among the tools like human right, problem solving, problem to body map. But that issues of FGM, I think is very, very sensitive issues. We must come out by dialogue, open dialogue. It can be true intergenerational dialogue, which may act as a way to lift the taboo on FGM, to understand why FGM is practiced, why mothers who have of suffering themselves decide to bring again their child, their daughter, to the practice. So it's something we must talk it in our family, in our community. We can't continue to consider FGM like a taboo issues. It's something must be talked now. It's time. We must involve the youth, boy, to talk about FGM in our family. Why? Mother, you suffer and you want to bring your doctor. So all those questions must come through intergenerational dialogue. Thank you
so
I'm
much.
happy to hear, to share my experience, to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take one more comment or question. We'll go to a female this time. We'll go to Sadia Hussein, who's also with us. Sadia, please tell us where you are calling from, and yes, keep it short because we're running behind slightly. Thank you. And can you please unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum and good evening or good afternoon for those it's afternoon. I want to keep it short. My name is Sadia Hussein, CEO BSI Kenya and a survivor of FGM. So I wanted to ask 3 questions. The first question is, who is supposed to engage the men? Is it, for example, as all of the key speakers highlighted that most of the, let's say, most of the important areas in the society are dominated by men. For instance, we are talking about the lawmakers. Majority of them are the men who have passed the laws. Then we talk about the judges, they are men, majority of them. Then we are talking about the religious scholars. Majority of the religious scholars are men. Then we are talking about those who are holding offices, like for instance, the medical practitioners, for instance, office of like the DPP office, and any other relevant office that is actually trying or mandated to end FGM are dominated by the men. So who is supposed to engage the men? Is it them who are holding these offices to come out and engage the men, or who is this person who is mandated to engage these men? Then secondly, we talk about medicalization of FGM, and mostly, and I think Kenya is number 4 in medicalization of FGM. And in Africa, we all know that it's a patriarchal society and all that. So women and girls are still suffering. And as many speakers put it, that women are going through FGM because of men. So now with many of the conferences or even meetings, you will hear when men are talking about ending FGM, they will always tell you because women who have not been cut do not have the pleasure or blah, 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 and some of that. So majority of the survivors run away from these forums. How do we ensure that men are actually ending FGM from the point of humanity, from the point of defending the rights of women and girls, and not again being selfish or demanding sexual pleasure and all that? How can we ensure that? And how can we make sure that the medicalization of FGM, those who are perpetrating are actually advocating for the end of FGM? Then my last question is that right now in Kenya, we are talking about 4 million women and girls who are survivors of FGM. In Africa alone, we are talking about 125 million women and girls. And globally, yes, we have over 200 million. So are these survivors also engaged? That's my question. And who is supposed to engage? For example, from this point, if you look at Kenya, for instance, I use Kenya as an example. If you look at the vocal survivors who are like speaking out and sharing the experiences, some of them do not even share with their husband, they do not share with their brothers or even fathers. They are living with that trauma alone. So now, if we talk about the vocal survivors who are in Kenya who are advocating, they cannot be more than even 50. And we are talking about 4 million. How do we ensure these survivors are not further stigmatized and they can be given the confidence to open up and share the experiences like Saadia, like myself, so that we can be able to end FGM? Because I believe ending FGM is not a competition, but a collaborative effort so that girls can be free from FGM. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sadia. All really good questions. And thank you to all the other speakers as well for their contribution. I hope you've all made a note of those questions. We will go and answer them, hopefully, after the film. We have a short film that we will be playing now, and I will bring in my colleague Jeremiah to introduce it and then moderate that section of the talk today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Naima. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeremiah Kipainoi, and I'm working with the Global Media Campaign to End FGM, just coordinating communication activities across the 8 countries in Africa. This film you're about to watch covers men who have been actively playing a role in ending FGM across Africa. And you will see men who have been visiting villages and have been on the media, as well as speaking on their households to end FGM. I don't want to say so much, but after, just take notes of what they will say, and we will reflect upon what they discussed. So I will invite Naima to just play the film, and then we will go on to have a small conversation around it thereafter. Thank you.
What they call sweet caramel. That's fine. So that should be good. Do you want
to help me? By not involving men in the fight against FGM is like a doctor treating the symptoms of a disease and ignoring the disease itself.
Men are the cultural leaders. Most of them, they are the gatekeepers in the society. They are listened to. They have power in their families.
Engaging men is something that is working. Of course, working closely with religious leaders, traditional leaders, gatekeepers is also something that is fundamental.
The right people to be targeted in anti-FGM are men.
Men are the head of the house. Mwanaume akikataa kitu, hata mama anakataa. Hata uzakataa.
If men can stand firm and say, for all those ladies who went through FGM, we're not going to marry them, I'm very sure there will be some sudden change.
Those who came before us saw FGM mainly as an issue to do with women. But right now, ending FGM is everyone's business. Men are very key, because if you look at all the reasons for FGM, most of them, they point to increasing marriageability of the girls. And who are the potential husbands to these girls? They're the men. The key policymakers are men. When you go to the church, it's men. When you go to the parliament, it's men. Okay, so we need really to have the men on board.
is very easier for a man to speak to another man on FGM. When women speak to men, it will not be easy for men to open up. They don't take the information seriously, and they don't want to feel inferior. Men do not share their issues, so we encourage them to share their problems. I've seen so many men coming out talking about the challenges they have seen with their spouses, the problems they have had of their daughters because of FGM.
Nimetoka shule, mimi ni mzee. Kwa nini siku 3 nimewekwa pale? Kwa sababu hatari ya mtoto wangu. Hatari ni mjukuu wangu. Ile picha ya jana, wengine wametoroka.
Men definitely change completely. In fact, we have seen men saying that they will not allow their daughters to be cut. And even we have seen sessions where they come the next day with their wives and they commit in front of the participants that we will not allow our girls to be cut.
Na pia mapisha ambayo tuliona hapa. Mliona yangu jana. Sijui nani alishukua. Nilienda hapa nikaonyesha mtoto wangu. Nililia kwa sababu huyu mtoto wangu alikuwa kiasi ya mtoto ya msichana yangu jana.
Mtoto ameumia. Mtoto ameumia. Sisi tunasema sasa mimi mwanaume gani mimi? Mimi ni mwanaume niko nyumbani. Watoto wangu mwanamke anabeba na mtoto mimi nakaa nyumbani. Pia Sadia anasema ala hapa. Nijikaza ile mtoto vile nalia, mtoto wa maka 7. Wacha ile maka 13. Ile mama vile amenyemelea. Hata saa hii nikiona.
Saan wixii wallahi gabdhii laga gudaayo wax aan la dhowri karin oo dhibaato aan sida hadda ay tahay xaalad aan u ogeyn baan aragnay waan ka xunnahay raali kama nihin awal aadaan lahayn caadadii mataqaanaa ee Soomaalida sida badan ku dhagan tahay
ya kabisa kusikia vibaya ama kustuka kwa ile picha tulionyeshwa.
Tulishtuka sana, hatukujua kama kitendo kama hiyo kinafanyika. Tulishuhudia na macho yetu, ile video ametuonyesha. Baadhi ya wazee walishinda kuangalia, kumbe watoto wachanga wanateswa kiasi hiyo, na mara nyingi sisi tulikuwa hatukujua kama wazee.
It is very easy to convince a man not to cut our daughter because of the problems that our daughter may experience. Tell them this thing is done to your wives, your sisters, your daughters. You will contribute money for medication, and with that, they start now thinking about themselves, think about their life, and mostly they commit to change. What do you know, Dads do not talk to their daughters. But I thought that if we bring dads and daughters together, we can enhance communication. And I told them now, can every man sit with his daughter? Can they know their names, the schools they attend, and the subjects they love? Some parents even confessed that they did not even know the names of their daughters. It was surprising. A dad do not know the names of our daughters. And you could now see where the problem started, because there is no connection between these dads and daughters. And that brought them together, and they could talk. The dads were so excited. They said, in fact, it was our first time to listen to our daughters, to know the problems they experienced. It was very exciting, and it worked very well, and it's working.
Muslim leaders have delinked the Islamic religion from female genital mutilation, saying the act is sinful.
The circumcision of women is not allowed in Islam.
Media is very powerful. Media plays a very critical role in debunking myths. When experts talk about the same in media, community members understand. Everyone, everywhere, they can access community radios, they can access mobile phones, and that will help. But the most important thing is to sustain the work. Community dialogue, community engagement, training, media engagement, because that is very critical.
Hatua ya nyumbani ni ya baba. Mimi nikisema nimekataa kwangu nyumbani nisifanye kitu, hakuna kitu utafanyika. Tusidanganyane. Tusilaumu mama.
Men, if they become agents of change, if they start speaking against FGM, definitely it will come to an end.
amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that, Naima. I will not extend that much more because you've all watched it. I just ask Tony, probably pass it on to Tony, then we will have a question and answer session. I just want to encourage everyone to post their questions on the question and answer box, just to save time. So keep posting, and then we will get back to that later. Thanks a lot, and welcome, Tony.
Thank you so much. I believe everyone was able to note down the questions by Sadia Hussein. So we can begin with that. And I will begin with, let me begin with Dr. Kuyate. Who should engage men? That was one of the questions that was posed.
Very, very, very good. Let me first congratulate Sadia. It's Sadia, right?
Yes.
It was really the regime of all of our concern. Yes. Who must engage men? Yeah, this is a good question. I forgot to say something. It's very difficult to come in the meeting like this. I'm a man with more than 40 years, some people more than 50, and say, okay, come, we have to convince you. It's very difficult. We must start at the beginning. In the family, we have to start with the young people, the children. Our meeting, our sensitization must start very, very earlier. So the parents must put in the head of their children that men must be engaged against female genital mutilation. It must start there. Parents and we activists, we have to convince the parents to talk about that to their children. That's one thing. But if I want to reply, in one word, I say, who must engage men? Men must engage themselves. Because to be engaged, you must be convinced and to take your responsibility and say, okay, I'm engaged. So nobody must engage you. You have to engage yourself. But somebody must tell you why you must be engaged. So this is the question. I don't know if you understand me. Who must engage men? Men themselves. But we activists, we parents, we are responsible, political responsible, we have to, to sensitize men so that they will take the responsibility and to be engaged against female genital mutilation. Very important question, Saida. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuyate. So I will go to the second one that she asked. She asked, how can we make sure that while engaging men, that we do not become selfish? Like, for example, there's a statement that was made by one of the men in the film that we can say that we are not going to marry the women who have been cut. So how can we engage the men without becoming selfish? Dr. Chris. You are on mute, please.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's one of those very emotional questions that sometimes you find that as activists, you are between the devil and the high sea, but then a solution must be proffered. Somebody says, oh, I'm not going to marry somebody that really can't. Part of the main engage focus and thrust is to begin to encourage young people, young men, to begin to marry cut girls. It's one of the major objectives. And I think it's working. But like you know, this kind of thing, they die very hard. And first is to begin to go to the foundation. Why do they want to marry, not to marry a girl that is cut? For them, the reason is because if you marry a girl, the issue of promiscuity, that the girl is going to be wayward, and all that. Two, the other myth is that the clitoris will begin to grow and grow and grow. Who knows? It can grow to again, this is a myth. And I'm happy that Sadia of course, I must continue to celebrate that Saturday because she's one person that has come out very openly to advocate on issues of female genital mutilation, and then using herself as an example. So our method had always been, number one, to get young men who have married girls that are caught. Because we did a survey, and I did a survey in one of the hotels in Four Corner. Four Corner is a place we call Four Corner. And we just did a random sample, and we discovered that virtually all the call girls in the Honda hotel are caught. So it's not really about whether one is caught or otherwise that makes her promiscuous or otherwise. So it's an issue of the mind. So, and these are the things we use to make people realize that it's not about cutting or not cutting. And it's working for us. And we're using it as a strategy and then getting champions among the girls to come out, men to come out and say, talk about it. And like I said, it's really working. It's really working for us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Do we have any other panelists who has something to add on that? Okay, I did not get the other question, so
I have it here.
Female genital mutilation. I mean, medicalization of female genital mutilation.
Exactly, that was
wonderful.
the other question. Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to take that? Does anybody want to answer that question?
Yeah, I want to say something about it, but I would like my colleagues to say one before I just into it again. Let it not be that I'm monopolizing the discussion. But I have one or two words to say about that.
Okay, so you want me to answer about?
Yeah, go on, Doc. Doc, go ahead. I might come in later.
Yeah. Quickly, what is the medicalization? Medicalization is the wrong result coming from the wrong sensitization, coming from ourselves activists. This is the medicalization. When we started in 1984, we were so powerful, medical doctor, scientists, and we said, it's not good for your health. It's not, you will have tetanus, you will have infections, so, you will bleeding, so you will die. So we just described in terms of medical or health, angle. We didn't show any rights, women rights. We said it's a medical problem. So the people reply, okay, if that's the problem, let us bring to the hospital. So you will do that perfectly and it will finish. This is the source of the medicalization. Yeah. So to stop medicalization, we have just to say, it's not only the medical problem, it's not only the health problem, but it's a human right problem. And we have to convince, even that one, we don't need to convince them. We have to tell to the agent, to the health personnel, you are not allowed to touch the girls. And it's easy to do that. We have some, the government can take the law against people who are working, working as health agent, to say, if you do that, you will lose your job. That's easy to do. So medicalization is not something coming like that. It came from, it's a wrong response to wrong sensitization. And we can stop that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want us to go back to where we left the discussion before the video and allowing the participants to ask some questions. So I would like to hear, what are some of the challenges that we are facing on engagement of men in the fight against FGM? What are some of the challenges? Who wants to take that?
Let me Tony start that one, okay. If you allow me. Whenever you raise such issue in a society like Somalia, there are those who condemn you. You should not talk about this because this is cultural. There are also a group of men who saying this is not concerning us. For example, in Somalia, they were telling that you can't talk about anything FGM because you are seen as foreigner, someone who is against the culture. But after increasing media campaigns against FGM in the society, now it is another level where a man can talk about FGM, engaging the society as man fighting for the rights of the women and girls. So when you face such condemnation from the group of society saying you are a man and can't talk about this issue, there is a lot of men who go in the backside saying, okay, this is the issue for the woman. It's not my mind, so I go back. So a small group of men, including me in Somalia, have decided to start this fight and working with local activities in Somalia. So we see that we are a major role in the societies. So this is a national issue sometimes when you see, because it is a human rights violation. When you are an activist around FGM issue, you may have very emotional questions that needs to be answered. If we continue as a man coming together and continue this work, I think a lot of men in our communities can join us and see, okay, if these men are at the forefront, so we can start working with them on the fight against FGM. So that is the good point I see in my community in the country where I'm living now. I think the other panelists will have another challenge that may good for me to know. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Hassan. So Catherine, what are some of the challenges? I know you've been moving around Kenya sensitizing men. What are some of the challenges that you face as you try to engage men? You on mute?
There are many challenges we have faced, but particularly I will go to two. One of the things we have faced as we continue to engage men is religion. These were, for instance, but this mostly we have found it in our brothers, I mean, in the Muslim, where it is not clear whether FGM is a religious practice, because you find some of the religious leaders saying it is not a religious practice, and the others have saying it is a religious practice. I mean, it is a religious practice. But I'm very happy because most of the time we have worked with sheikhs who explain this. FGM is not a religious practice. It is not a Muslim requirement thing. The other thing we have seen is culture. Those are most of the confusing things, because you find in most of the communities where they practice FGM, they keep on saying, this is our culture, this is our culture. But many a times, how we have solved this challenge is where we engage the elders, the one we call the gatekeepers. And these gatekeepers come up and say FGM is not part of us. For instance, in Samburu, where we were managed FGM, we were much involved with training the elders, and these elders went ahead to declare that FGM is not part of their culture. As managed FGM, one thing we have really mastered is to celebrate our culture. Our African culture is beautiful. We only fight retrogressive cultures. That's our main aim, and these are like FGM is one of them. Another community which has stood out is my community where I come from, Meru. Our elders, the Jirincheke, they have done their declaration and they have made it clear FGM is not part of our culture. So these are some of the things that challenges we have faced. And the other thing, of course, is the resources. Because to engage or to train these men, we need resources. And GMC and UNFPA have been some of our partners. Yes, that's all.
with your permission, Dr. Morisanda Koyate, you know, you are one of the senior people in this panel. I would like to ask something when it comes to the resources, because someone sent me a question before the beginning of this webinar and told me he runs an organization which is male-led organization, and they have been trying to do engagement of men and boys, and the resources have been very rare to get. So what do you think we can do to, because that's a challenge that is happening to many people out there. What do you think we can do to attract resources as so that men can be able to engage other men in this fight against FGM? Or what is the best way forward in that?
Thank you. It's a very good question. Let me say something. Even if it's not only for men, to get more resources, to mobilize resources, we have to stop begging. We have to change our position. We are not beggars, saying to UNFPA, to UNICEF, to the please give me money, I want to fight. No. We have to fight by ourselves. Show to them that we are some people somewhere trying, deciding to fight. And now we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have it, and we show to the world. And you will see people will come to say, oh, you are doing that, I can help, I can support. But if you continue to knock, please, I have project, this is my project. No, it's not like that. Let us organize ourselves. Let people know that we are doing that. Even if it's to go to the market, calling 20 people and talking about to them about FGM as a man, and you post. That's enough. If you are, and people will come and say, oh, this is good thing, we have to come together. That's very, we in Africa, we have to change the mindset, always saying begging. No, we are not begging. We are fighting for our own society, for our own systems. We have to show that. So this is the big challenge that we have to face. Forget about money. Start in the corner somewhere and let people know.
Thank you so much. That's very powerful. And I hope everyone has been able to get that. So next, I will go to Asani Stila and ask her. I want us to learn about some of the effective things that we have been able to do as activists in the fight against FGM. So I would like to ask Asani Stila, who said that he is a journalist working in Somalia. How can we use media as a tool for amplifying the voices of men out there? As Dr. said, we need to do something and then we blow it out there for other people to see what we are doing. So how can we be able to leverage on media to do that? Hassan? Is Hassan with us?
Yes, okay. Tony.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
So in terms of media, there is some tools that I use when amplifying voice of man in eradicating FGM in Somalia. So local media or local radios is at the forefront of the fight to end the female genital mutilation. As we know that radio is often the only way to reach many of the communities where FGM continue to prevail. So radio campaigners can reach the women and girls at risk sometimes, and it can change the perception of women and men and inform women and their basic human rights. So when we come from the radio, there is another tool, which is social media. That is most of the people are used because everyone has a smartphone and wants something to watch or to see. So when we take the social media and spread our social media campaigns and radio messages and social media messages about the FGM, so that is a good way we can reach the people who can sometimes make the decision, even the head of states and also the politicians, religious leaders, and the group of the people, those can take part in this campaign against the FGM. JMC has been trained a group of Somali journalists and also religious leaders. Those have now been able to do a short, for example, a short video clip about the topic they are talking about, and then they are able to upload on their social media spaces. And at that point, the people can understand where this topic of FGM is going and which trend is we wanted to build up. For example, I think it was 1 month ago, there is a young girl bled to death, FGM in Somalia. After that news comes out, the people started to tweet and also to spread on their social media. So that is where a lot of people in the country know that there is someone who has died from FGM in the country. And also the radios have started also radio programs, and also TVs have started to do programs. So I think the radio and also social media, they are both that can be take part a key play in the fight against FGM, and also Billboard is also in Somalia. They can be part of the this fight against FGM, and also man, when they can talk about this topic around FGM on the radio, there is those who can.
I think we lost Hassan.
Hassan, are you still with? Oh, okay, thank you so much, Hassan. I will go to Dr. Chris. Hassan talked passionately about media. So how do we get these influential men to the media station? How do we convince them? How do we make sure that we are able to get them there? Because they say the message is as credible as the messenger. So how do we get them to the radio stations, TV stations, and other media houses?
Thank you very much. I want a practical example. We actually advocated and championed the passage into law of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law of Enugu State 2019. And we were able to get as our supporters the Speaker of the House of Assembly, who incidentally has had the very ugly experience of this BVF with the daughter. So it was not such a difficulty for us to be able to reach out to him and to say, please, you are going to be one of our audience, participate in one of our audience participation program in Radio Nigeria. Incidentally, this was funded by the GMC. They gave us the support to be able to do this. So it's one of the ways, when you're able to get people of like minds, people who have had, men who have had the experience of how ugly and detestful the whole issue of female genital mutilation is, they would always be willing to support your cause. And because, when the doctor was talking about resources, I've always told people, render quality service, money will come. If you begin to do a good work and people see that it's not because of the way that you're doing, it's of passion and conviction that this matter is, number one, irregular, unlawful, and that the girl child at the end of the day is the person that suffers. People who just know about what they're doing will invest in what we're doing. That's number one. Then number two, about the issue of involving men, particularly in media issues. I would always encourage our colleagues, wherever, please make effort to enroll in the GMC to end female genital mutilation program. I'm a graduate of that platform, and I will never remain grateful to GMC for that opportunity. You see, you cannot be a good advocate of an issue when you are not properly trained. It's not an all-commerce something. You must be grounded. And what is the training all about? It's about improving your knowledge, enhancing your skill, and above all, the attitudinal change. Because the whole thing is about change in behavior, whether at the level of the family, whether at the level of the communities, whether at the level of the church and mosques, whether at the level of government. I shared with you people that I happen to have I retired at the highest level of the civil service as head of service of Enugu State. So I can always permeate these places and then get my former colleagues and current colleagues to be able to be part of what we're doing. So we must leverage on this kind of platform, leverage of relationships, because most times people believe you more because of who they've seen you've always do something that's very right. And they want to join what we're doing, join you in what we're doing. So I encourage our colleagues, activists, people like Sadia, people like Toby, to be able to see how we can galvanize effort, to be able to make this a reality. The joy we have in Africa is that the Maputo Protocol on issues of gender gives us sufficient platform in our various countries to begin to advocate using the media, using the resources that we have to make sure that by 2030, the issue of female genital mutilation will be a thing of the past. My anecdote has always been, I always tell my colleagues, I say, Mary Slessor is a Scottish lady. Before she came to Nigeria, we were killing twins. And people were, because twins were being killed. And we say, it's our culture, it's our culture. We took a woman of courage to visit Nigeria, stayed in that. In fact, she died in Nigeria. And then today, people now go to churches, fasting and praying that they be given to us. So when people say, oh, this thing will never end, I say, no, I'm an incredible optimist. Female genital must end in our generation. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much. I can see Meresi is back with us. Can you hear me, Meresi? Isaiah? Okay. Unfortunately, we are not able to get him. So while we are still on media, I will, Dr. Kuyate, you have been quoted by the Global Citizen in a Global Citizen article saying that the use of photos and films is a key tool when it comes to convincing the influential men out there to join the fight against FGM. So I would like to hear from you. What is your take when it comes to the use of photos and videos? Because there has been a controversy around the same, whereby some of the people say it's not a good thing to do. So how can we be able to effectively use this tool to convince men to join the fight against FGM?
Yeah, thank you so much. Very, very good question. Yes, I saw. I think you saw my publication on this. Before talking about the film, I saw the very good film. What you projected now, it's very good. But the first film is yourself. You have been instead of bringing one lady or one young a man must be. You have the first to come and say, stop FGM. Let me show you 1 second something. 1 second. In 1990, 31 years ago, I took the responsibility to go to the Guinea television and to talk about FGM. And it was a scandal, historical scandal. They said, how he can say that? This is the film. You can see, it's not a film.
Émission autour d'un thème, j'allais dire délicat.
You can see.
Je suis pour le principe de mettre fin au tabou.
So this is me, young, very young. So the first thing that we have to do is ourselves to come and talk about that. But we have to be cautious also. Some people are in the communities. They are fetishes, marabout, the people, they are looking how to get notary, how to be very known. But what they are doing, once you come to the television or to the radio, you talk about FGM, they will come immediately to say, nah, it's not like it. Just to get, this advantage to show them themselves. Don't go to reply to them, forget about them. And Dr. Chris, very good. You talk about culture. There is no link between culture and FGM. Culture is good. Culture is what we can sell to the rest of the world. This is a tradition, and it's a bad tradition. And then we are in Africa. It's not only television and radio. No, we have traditional media. We have it. We have to use them and they are very powerful. When they come for the baptisms, they come for marriage, for some so and so, they can talk about that. So this is the challenge for me that we have to define.
Maybe a follow-up on the same. What do you think is the position of using the photos to show the men what actual FGM entails, to convince them?
We have to show any photo that must help us. It's okay if we want to respect the person, we can we can just remove the visage, but we have to use the photo. You have to use the complication, the photo of the complication, photo of some problem. We have to use that in the media. It's very important, not just talking, but we can come with the very concrete photos and the film to show to people that the man must be involved in the fight against female genital mutilation. So there is don't put any limit. You have to analyze your environment. If it's possible, you go ahead. But you have to study first your environment before doing that. Please, I know I saw some people here coming from, there are some countries where the first lady is for female genital mutilation. This is a big shame for Africa. And how we can see a first lady saying, I support female genital mutilation, that she must step down. So I'm not the name of the country, but this is a shame. So you have to study your environment, and if it's possible, you show any photo, any film to convince people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuyate. Dr. Kuyate simply says that we have to understand our context and the target audience so that we can be able to pass the right message to the right people. So we do not go showing the images, for example, to survivors, which might traumatize them more, or to young children who cannot be able to do anything when it comes to ending FGM. If I got you right, Dr. Kuyate. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Catherine, thank you so much. So Catherine, I have seen the reaction of the men in most of the videos that were shown, and they were reacting on the videos that they were shown during the men and FGM trainings. So can you tell us more? What has been the effect of those videos and the visuals and the media that is used in those trainings of male champions? You are on mute, please. Kindly unmute yourself.
Okay. I can say one of the things which has happened, it is like one of the major breakthrough for us as team men at FGM. It has really, it is, as I was saying, it is one of the major breakthrough. Most of the time when we start our training, men are very cold. They distance themselves from FGM. Then now we continue talking and continue asking them, oh, do you know about FGM? No one even wants to associate with FGM. They run away from the topic, they run away from the practice, saying that it is a women issue. And now comes the second day about FGM, the video of FGM. At the moment they start now seeing this, it touches them to their core of their heart, where now they start like relating. They start seeing their daughters going through that, their small daughters going through that. The first time they will be in denial, now this is not practice. As we continue, they start now seeing the effect, because we have pictures of the effect of FGM. There is fistula and all that. So at times we use the model, or I can say the dummy, which shows the fistula, all those cysts and everything about FGM, about the effect of FGM. And now after they see this, now some can even start relating, like where you hear some saying, oh, I've been noticing my wife is not able to hold urine. I've noticed, so they start opening up. And this makes our training easier, because now the point is home because of the media. And now we are able to talk to them, and now they start committing from now henceforth, I'm going to be a champion. I'm going to educate other men. I'm going to speak in church for the communities where they go to church. Others even commit. Next time I'll go for prayers, I'll start telling our people. And then from there, we go to the community. We take these champions, the ones we train, to the community, where now the same champion we were training for 3 or 4, a number of days, they are the ones to speak to the other members of the community. And one of the key things which has been coming out in this community dialogue, we call them community dialogue, is the video. I remember what I saw. It is bad. And now I can say the video has been very effective. The media has been very effective. Like, these people, they feel it, what is FGM, and now they become our new champions in ending FGM.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I can see Maresi is back. Isaiah, can you hear me? Maresi, can you hear me? Maresi, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we are not able to connect with him, so we will continue with our with our discussion here. So Ban Ki-moon once said that we need to lobby and rally more men to join the fight against FGM. And once they do so, we need to like appreciate them all clap for them and encourage them to continue the fight against FGM. So my next question will go to all the panelists. In no order, we can be able to answer the same. And I want to know, what next? What next? How can we be able to better engage men and have more men in this campaign against FGM? Who wants to go first? What next? How can we be able to have more men in this campaign? How can we encourage our fellow men? How can we encourage other activists out there, even if they are women, to be able to have incorporate women in their incorporate men in all interventions towards ending FGM?
The question is for everybody?
Yes, for everybody.
Me, I have my own plan. My own plan is now my fight is easier, because last year in July, the UN gave me the United Nations Nelson Mandela Prize. This is the biggest prize for UN. So now this is my arm. So I have that engaged me, and now I have something. If I call somebody to say I want to talk to you, if it's a head of state, or they will just take and reply to me. So next for me is to use this. You can see my background everywhere I'm going. I said UN Nelson Mandela Prize. So I will use this prize to open all the doors, to talk to all of the decision maker, and to do what I would like to do, the most thing that I would like to do, to convince them. So for other people, I think they must do the same thing. Next is just to review. I'm sure you will send the video to all of us, is to popularize what we have discussed here. And we give to every one, so they will analyze what we have said here, because Dr. Krait, Catherine, and we said something, appreciable thing, so they can just review and see where they can be able to do something, because they cannot apply everything. So you can review the video, our discussion, and see if you can do with radio, okay. If you are able with television, okay. If you can go to the parliament to talk to them, okay. If you want to meet the president, if you want to meet the mayor, so you can do that. So the next depends on your position and your environment.
So much. Who wants to go next?
Yeah.
Dr. Chris?
Yeah. So by way of next steps, for the past 6 months, the Men Engaged Alliance undertook a process we call the Ubuntu. It was a program that lasted for 6 months. And all the national networks of the Men Engaged Africa were part of it. And what is Ubuntu? I understand Ubuntu is a South African that says, you are because I am, or I am because you are. That shows interdependence. That men cannot really survive the reality of the ground, even their own health. Oftentimes, men hardly ever go to hospital. It takes most times a woman reminding you must go to hospital. I happen to be a beneficiary of that kind of. So you realize that we really cannot. Even our gross domestic product, even our national programs can never succeed if we don't involve the women. And so we must do everything possible that all those anachronistic and social and cultural norms that tries to underplay the importance of women, we must go ahead and make sure that it is stopped. How do we do that? All these policies, legal instruments in place in Africa, like the Maputo Protocol, in our individual countries, we must begin to invoke them, popularize them through the media, talk about it so that men begin to realize that this is something we all must put our hands on deck to make it come to pass. Nigeria has the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. It is our responsibility going forward. It criminalizes issues of female genital mutilation. But how many states in Nigeria? We have 36 states in Nigeria, including plus Abuja, the federal capital. Only 4 states have been able to domesticate this national law. It is our responsibility going forward, using the media to begin to canvass and make other states sign it into law and begin to enforce it. Third thing that we're going to do by way of next step is, Sadia, when he was talking, he talked about the number of survivors, female genital survivors in Kenya, and he talked about 4 million. I would only add multiply that by 6, and we're getting the figure of survivors. We are going to, as part of our next steps, HIV, we have people living with HIV and AIDS. Yeah, it's a group. We have people living with disabilities. It's a group. But we find that the issue of people coming out to say, oh, I'm a survivor, is a challenge. And we need to begin to get them out so that people begin to hear their own voice. As much as activists will talk about them, but it should be more efficacious and more practical if we tag on and use them as people we can use to begin to talk about the issue of female genital mutilation going forward. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much. I can see Maresi is back with us. Maresi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. So for you, I will ask you, how can we be able to engage the young men out there in the society to be able to join us in the fight against?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Okay, so first of all, we know that youths, or those are boys and generally, many of them are 70% of the entire population. So what we can do are found on social media. I think social media can really help us to bring more into this platform. Number 2, I think that we should hold regular community campaigns, especially we should not target the universities or colleges. Let us start from the primary level, because we know that
I think we are having trouble hearing you, Maresi. So we will continue with Hassan. So what next?
Yes.
How do we
FGM or
get more
sexual
men?
assault to secondary level.
Yes, Tony.
Yes.
Yes,
This-
I think. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We lost you. We lost you for a while, Marisi. Your internet is not stable.
Yeah, probably. I'm sorry for that, but I think.
Okay, you can just finish up. Just go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that let's look at the kids at the primary level. You know that in fact that we want to engage the youth, but we must not forget about the elders. We know that the elders are the custodians of the culture, and if we engage the youths and we leave out the elders, we'll be doing nothing. So let us bring the youth together and the elders together. Let's tell the elders that the culture that was being done in the past, right now, it cannot apply. For example, we can use for example, seedlings. There are seedlings that could do better in the past, but right now, those seedlings no longer work. So change is inevitable, and we must move with change. Culture, most men are the custodian of culture, and they are key decision maker in the family, and we cannot leave them out. Now, how do we engage them? Let us look at the religion. More religious leaders, they can be trusted. And if you go to the church level, men are always very few in the church. What's the best way to reach there? What's the best way now we can reach these men now? We have footballs. Men like football. Why can't we organize where men usually meet for football activities? Let us share with them. After training or talking with some of the men, let us also tell them to also train other men. For example, there are things that we usually ignore. For example, recently I was just shocked in most urban slums of Nairobi. I never knew that FGM takes place in the slums, but I was shocked that FGM takes place in the slums. How do we reach them? Now, we have community health volunteers. Let us take use of them. They are at the community level, at the grassroots level. Let us use them so that they can reach those at the below in the society. Community health volunteers, they can really help us in that. Number two, we have local government officials. For example, we have chiefs, assistant chief, nyumba kumi. Are we taking good use of them? No, but if we formulate policies that if we found that a local government official tolerating FGM, let his job be terminated, because even this is the president of the Republic of Kenya has said that FGM by 2022, we want to reduce FGM cases. Okay, the next thing I had said about community health volunteers. The next thing, local government officials. Then let us formulate policies. Then let us take use of social media. Let's use social media. May it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Nowadays, everything is done in the social media. And whatever is done in the social media, it reaches a lot of people. How are we going to sensitize them? Let us sensitize youths, and not just youth. Let us look at the men, because we want to solve the problem of FGM. But if we don't engage these men, it will be like
Thank you so much.
Let me just finish it just a bit. What I came to realize is that men are the root causes of FGM, but they usually say that they are not, but they are because number one, men funds FGM activities. Then they hide to claim that they are not the one who fund the activity. You cannot tell me that maybe your girl is being circumcised and you as the man of the house, you are not aware. That's a lie, isn't it? So let us take the use of social media that will also help us to reach more youth and more men in the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maresi, for that vital contribution. We will continue with I want to go to Hassan. I want to hear from you what next in just 1 minute, because we are running out of time. And
yeah, thank you, Tony. The good news here in Somalia is that it has been increasing the number of men coming on board and saying we don't want women to be cut. In the past, it has not been talking about in publicly or media. So inviting men to FGM discussion on media platform, working with a young man who wants to be a champion to end FGM and GBV. So when we have all these groups, I think it is a good step to get a fellow man to join this fight against FGM.
Thank you so much, Hassan. The same question goes to Kate. What next? In 30 seconds.
What I'd like to say is that we have a program where we have been training champions in different counties. So far, we have trained over 10. The next thing is that we finish the other counties, which we have been trained. The other thing we would like to do is like, let's say, for instance, the champions, the elders who we have trained, and they have like declared FGM is illegal, or to end FGM in their country or in their community. We are planning like to do an exchange program. These elders go to another country or to another community where they're not, I mean, where they are practicing FGM and they haven't declared, like train them. And this community can copy the same thing and they do their declaration from the ground level. And now from there, they can hold their community accountable. That is one. The other thing is that we are looking forward to work together with like-minded people in ending FGM, men and FGM groups, which are interested to be trained how to do this thing, to engage men. We are ready as an organization, as a foundation, to train such people, because our aim is to end FGM in our community or everywhere in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to hand it over to Naima and Jeremiah so that they can be able to lead us to respond to some of the questions that have come through the chats. But as we wind up also, I would like Naima and Jeremiah to ask. We have been able to partake in this webinar today, and everyone has been able to say the plans they have as individuals going forward in the fight against FGM. I would also like to know what next for us. We have started something beautiful here today by having this webinar, and we can be able to synergize and use the different positions that we have and the networks that we have in different countries and ensure that we build this, that this conversation does not die here. It goes beyond this webinar today. So thank you so much. I will hand it over to Jeremiah and Naima and be thinking about what next now for us as a group and after this webinar.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I don't know whether Jeremiah is here. Okay, Jeremiah is here, but I'll go after Jeremiah. Go on, Jeremiah. It's the men's show today, so I'm going to give the men the floor.
Thanks a lot, Naima. And to Tony, I think we have already made a huge step in the campaign to end FGM within our individual campaigns. The fact that we are sitting all here today means that we have made substantial efforts to already do something as men, having many of us leading groups of men who already are working towards ending FGM. So what I would say, what next? And I think Naima would expound on that in terms of maybe GMC plans. But I think, in my thinking, I see a big opportunity here. Dr. Kuyate, many people look up to you. Tony, many people look up to you. Dr. Chris, many people look up to you. Hassan, many people look up to you. How can we come together and bring these people together? How can we synergize as men ending FGM across the world? And how can we mentor others to also join the campaign? So I think what next for me in terms of the campaign to end FGM is how do we come together, not so many people, just us that are here today in this panel. How can we come together to strengthen the movement to end FGM, at least here in Africa? And to you, Naima, sorry.
Thanks, Jeremiah. I've actually learned a lot from you all today, and thank you all for your contributions. I have some questions, I have some suggestions, I have some comments. First of all, I agree. I think there needs to be much more synergies. There need to be much more conversations. And I totally agree with a lot of everything that everybody has said. You've got to start them young. And I think it starts at home. It starts with conversations with our daughters, with our sons, and with our, with the future fathers. And what are these conversations that are happening at that level, at the family level, is really the most important, I think. But from GMC's perspective, I think we need to diversify the messaging. We need to have more representation. We need to see more men. We need to see more boys. I really think engaging with boys, father-son relationships and strengthening that would be really important. And to what Sadia was saying earlier as well, I think it's really important not to stigmatize or further stigmatize survivors, and ensuring that that there is spaces for them. And as much as, there's a lot of preventative strategies, and especially that's what media can help with, but media can also help with how do we make sure that there is more diverse stories from survivors themselves to share their own stories, like Sadia, who bravely does it, and many others who do that really well too. But at the same time, having the young boys who involved in this from from young age, and having and speaking like the father-daughter initiative we have in that video, I think that's super amazing. To have even hearing fathers that don't even know the names of their daughter, I find that quite unbelievable. But the fact that that exists in this day and age is the state of affairs where we are. So I think the more that we diversify these strategies, have it on the media as much as possible. Like our colleague Maresi said, that using social media, using media to really owning it and not waiting for anyone to give you resources, like Dr. Kiate said. We can do it. We all have mobile phones. We can do it. We're on this today because we have access to we're connected, so there are ways that we can all be supporting each other. And I think as global media campaign, we can obviously support with direct action grants, and we want to hear more diverse, brave media stories that isn't going to be causing more harm, but actually going to be promoting more good from across the continent. So that's my take, but I will stop there. I know there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. There's a lot of comments. So maybe Jeremiah, you can help moderate some of the Q&A box, and you can read some of the questions and maybe pose it to the relevant speaker. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Naima. I will just go through, we have a couple of them in the question and answer. I'm sorry I'll not be able to look at what you posted on the chat boxes because there are too many comments. But I'm just going to start off from where you posted here. All right. So this could be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to read it as it is. Hello, Doctor and the team. Based on your clear presentation, it comes out that men should use their patriarchal role and influence in ending FGM, shouldn't they? Erickson Ngetich from Kenya. I think, and let's try to answer those questions in one sentence because it's very late at night in some parts of the country. So I think, Tony, you've been moderating, but I'll throw this to you. should men use their patriarchal role and influence in ending FGM? And the next question, I'll just read 3, then we answer, then we just go to the next 3, and I think we'll be done.
Jeremiah? Did we lose Jeremiah?
We might have lost Jeremiah, but maybe you can answer that question and I'll read the next questions.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Jeremiah. Allow me to say that there's a deadline to end FGM, that is 2030, according to the United Nations. But unfortunately, we have not been able to see a deadline to end patriarchy. This simply means that, yes, patriarchy is something that is very bad, but we have to find a way of working within the patriarchal society and using it in a positive way to see how we can be able to borrow from the same and ensure that we are using it in the fight against FGM, gender-based violence, and other forms of violence meted against women and girls. So what I'm simply saying is we have to find a way of working within the structure itself, the patriarchal society, the influence that the men have as religious leaders, as elders, as teachers, as judges, and all what has been said in this platform. How can we harness that power that they have to be able to use it positively towards ending harmful cultural practices? That's what we think about. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so there's a question here from Godwin. Do you engage the community-based, can you engage with community-based organizations to end FGM efforts? I guess that's the answer is yes to that. Then we have Jesse Jenge, who works for NTV Kenya. Do you think that Kenya is ready to end FGM by 2023? As media team journalists, what should we do to help end FGM in Kenya and in Africa? Maybe this could go to somebody from Kenya, either to Kate, to Tony, to Maresi. One of you can answer that question. Is it possible to end FGM in Kenya by 2023?
Thank you so much, Naima. I don't want to look like I'm dominating, but let me say that it's not possible to end FGM in Kenya by next year, which is 2022. But what the president's declaration is has done is it has opened so many opportunities, and we are going to make significant gains in the fight against FGM by next year. But ending FGM by next year, it's an uphill task, and everyone knows that, because we have communities with prevalences as high as 94% in Kenya. So it's not possible to just pull it down within the remaining few months to next year.
And there's a follow-up question, which is actually quite a good one. As a media team, journalists, what should we do to help end FGM in Kenya and in Africa?
So I believe the media people should be able to use the position that they have and the platform that they have to be able to amplify more voices of survivors, more voices of men there in the fight against FGM, and spread awareness about what is happening in different parts of this country. Because the more we get the messaging out there, then the more people will be able to join us in the fight against FGM. So as a journalist, I challenge you to use your platform. It's free, it's freely given to you because you are sent out there to do stories. Use that position as a journalist to be able to amplify the voices of the people who are ending FGM. And that way you will have made your own contribution in this fight. Thank you.
Maybe to add on.
Go for it.
Maybe if we've said that, can we end FGM by 2022? My question, my answer is, it's not that easy, because you know that these FGM activities are done silently. They don't want to know that they are being done. So we really have very difficulties in reaching out these people who are doing these things silent. So what we can do? Why FGM? Let us help those communities who are carrying out FGM activities. Why? Is there any benefit of FGM? No. Let us sensitize them. Let us tell them the disadvantages of FGM. Then those who are demanding to marry girls who are circumcised. Let us tell men that let's demand for those girls who are not circumcised, because this is what pushes most girls to, either if they are not being forced, they are pushed to do it so that they get married. But if we say that let us reduce the demand for the girls who are circumcised and increase the demand for the uncircumcised girls, and this way will help us to reduce the cases of FGM in Kenya. What I think that is that I think we can just alleviate, reduce one by one, step by step, and in the process, FGM activity will just reduce in Kenya with time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Maresi. Okay, there's a question here from Vincent Ogala Mweta. He says that cultural leaders in my community in Kuria, Kenya has always been engaged in several community dialogues and forums. And they've even gone to the extent of signing FGM declarations, yet there's cutting seasons coming and there's still women that are planning to be cut. How do we engage with more cultural elders? Who wants to take that one? Tony?
Okay.
Kate, go for it. Catherine.
There's one thing I said earlier. One way we can engage more cultural elders is where like we like do an exchange program. Where like, let's say for instance in Korea, they have declared to end FGM. There's another community in Kenya who have not declared to end FGM, or they have not been sensitized. Now we take like these cultural elders from Korea and take them to a place like, I will talk of the community where I come from, like Meru, but Meru, they did it, they declared to end FGM in 1956. Now, like right now like they do like an exchange program, and this way more communities, more cultural elders will join us, since we say that they are the gatekeepers of our culture. It will be easier for them.
I guess what Vincent is alluding to, in some areas that cultural elders have been engaged, and they've even signed declarations that there is FGM-free community, yet cuttings still happen. So how do you then deal with that situation?
Thank you so much, Naima, for that. Let me say that community declarations are just the beginning of the end to FGM. And the mistake that we have been doing sometimes in some of the communities is that we assume, because a community or the elders have done a declaration, that is the end of FGM. FGM, it's not something that you can just stop like you switch off electricity. So it simply means that after declarations have been done, we need to go out there and engage now more of the community members, engage the rest of the men, engage the rest of the boys and everyone in the community to make them understand why the elders have done the declaration. So we have to continue the conversation after the declaration of the elders. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Vincent. And Godwin Ayata says, do you engage with village elders in ending FGM, because they're the toughest individual to change minds and cultural norms? And so I'm assuming that they are quite important figures to involve in the campaign. So how can you maybe share some strategies of how you engage with cultural elders or village elders? Maybe Dr. Kuyate can take that one, or even Dr. Chris Ugu.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe after the meeting, I will send a lot of images to you, a lot of photos to you. When we started in 1984, how we did with the communities. You will see the photos there. So we have first to go to work with them alone, not call a lot of people. We have to meet them alone. We discuss with them, we show the consequences and everything. We try to convince him in front of any other people. Because if there is some advisor or something, this is not good, chief, don't listen to them. No, we have to meet them alone, face to face. convince him, showing everything to him. And once he said, oh, okay, I understand. So you will be able to call the all advisor, so he will be at your side. But don't come in the village and say, where are the elders? They come, okay, look, I'm here against female genital mutilation. So they will say, no, no, no. Because they are afraid in front of their population, because for them, they don't want to be unpopular. So first, meet them face to face, convince them. And then you have to pull them towards your position with the concrete evidence. If they are not convinced, you can go and come back after 3 months. You can come 10 times. You know, I'm fighting against female genital mutilation since 1983. Can you imagine? I never give up. Some people were saying they were, you know, talking about me on the radio, on the mosque, fatwa, and so. But now they are my friends. We are talking together. These are religious leaders, and they are talking together on the television. So we have to be patient, coming not just one time, coming every day, talking with them and having your own plan. This is my my small experience.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And lastly, I know we're running out of time, and I know everyone's getting tired, but I think it's an important question to answer with and maybe leave with. Sadia Hussein says, so where will the 94% girls in my community who have gone through FGM go if men want to marry uncut girls? Men should not again stigmatize survivors who went through FGM because of them. So how are we going to, who's going to take that answer? Who's going to answer that question? But it's a very important question, given that 125 million girls at the moment, women in Africa, are cut. And if men are now like preferring to go for uncut girls, then what about the girls that have been cut? Where will they go? Who will marry them? Maybe Dr. Christopher Ugu can take that one.
Yeah, thank you. The reality on the ground is that, I mean, you can see how passionate Sadia is about these issues. And I just did mention that part of our way of mitigating that challenge, because we really noticed that if we allow that kind of mindset to keep going on, the implication is that we're going to have a lot of married girls who are married just because they were caught. And so we're raising a crop of young men who, through evidential proofs, were able to make them realize that the reality on the ground is that they even make better wives. I just did mention to you that to be able to make people realize this, we have to go and do a research in a hotel, and we discovered that 90% of the girls that are there as prostitutes are caught girls. So it's not really so much about the fact that one is caught that makes it's no longer marriageable. On the contrary, it is the character of an individual, which has something to do with whether the person is caught or not caught. And our advocacy is beginning to work. We need to work because we now have 30 young men who have married people who are caught. And in each of our campaigns at the community level, we go with them, where they do they testify to the people. This is the situation. And we're happy with the wife we've married, even though they were caught. So the essence is just to make sure that we break that stigma of the fact that, oh, anybody who's the essence of cutting gas is to make them not become promiscuous. But we've seen stable families today, and they're very stable, loving, caring for each other, very faithful to their husbands. And so that's so. And to also come to what Doc was talking about, it takes patience. We are not yet. It's not yet too cool for us. We're in the journey, in the process. And what we have always advised our colleagues, activists, be very patient. You must be very, very patient. The first day you go there, you'll be rebuffed, you'll be assaulted, cajoled. No. If you see how the early missionaries who came to our various countries, how patient they were with our culture, you will be able to appreciate that for us who want to change behavior, that we also need to be very patient and very tenacious. Thank you, Neema.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody. And I just want to say that obviously it's been a really great discussion, and I've really learned a lot. And I do still think that it's really important to realize that FGM is a human right violation. It's a women's right violation, and that's the center of it. And it's quite unbelievable that, we have amongst us some people who've been campaigning since the 80s, and we're still talking about this issue today. And we are trying to end this by 2030. And maybe it's possible, maybe it's doable. We have to be optimistic. I'm sure it's possible. But at the same time, I think the heart and the soul of it is that it's a women's right. It's a human rights violation. And I think that, men should really be there to support women and be in the passenger seat to support women in this really difficult, fight to end it. And but I do think that it's possible, and I do think men are huge allies and really important allies to really change mindsets of the future generation, hopefully. Last words now. I think we should just finish with last words, 1 minute each, and then it's over. Tony, over to you. Thank you.
Let me say that I'm truly proud of this conversation that we have had today. And I believe that this is just the beginning of bigger things to come. And if we're able to work together, when we work together, we're able to achieve more. And I believe that we are going to do so. So I will allow Catherine to go next.
I would like to say thank you all. This is a good opportunity. We have been looking forward to this, where all men will be involved in ending FGM. It will end sooner when we engage men. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can have Dr. Chris.
Thank you very much, Tony, Neema, Jeremiah, and all the organizers. I mean, I'm always very proud of all of you. For me, what I'm taking from this conversation is the fact that we can't afford to work in silos. I mean, there's the need for cooperation, particularly when we're dealing with issues at the continent of Africa. We need to work together. I mean, I was very highly impressed with Dr. from Guinea. I mean, we can harvest his experiences over the years he's been in this campaign. So there's so much to learn from him. Again, we cannot underscore enough the importance of the media. And those of you who are media people there, and then more particularly to Neema, we continue to tap from your resources, tap from your experience, tap from your guidance. I mean, I cannot thank you enough for all the support you've always given us here in Nigeria to be able to do this work. Together, we must end female genital mutilation on by 2030. That's my conviction.
Thank you so much. Let's have Maresi.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of the discussion. I know, Tony, I've just been seeing you on social media, Twitter, where I had that passion of serving the community. I like doing volunteer work, yeah. I volunteered with the DW Foundation, I volunteer with the Kenya Red Cross, I volunteer with Shofco. What I believe in, what motivates is doing good to the community. That's what keeps me going. Because what I know in life, it's usually said that whatever you do to yourself, you will die with it. But whatever you do to others lives and is immortal. So let's take men. We as men, let's bridge the gap to end FGM. Let us be the bridge to end FGM, because I know women alone cannot do it. But I believe in the power of pulling together, because what I know, change comes only if we pull together. But if we don't pull together, we won't achieve the change. So let's this not be the last meeting we are doing it here. And let us not just talk. Let's see action. Let us act. If we just talk and we don't act, FGM won't reduce, won't stop. So let's talk, let's talk, let's act, let's train men, let the men that we've trained, let them train other men, let them train other men. And in the whole society, let's have all the society, every person to be a champion of FGM in the society. And in this process, we will end FGM. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony, and all of you.
Thank you so much, Maresi, and we are really proud to have you. And finally, we want to end with Dr. Kuyate, and I would like to say that I am very proud of you. It's because of you that we have Zero Tolerance Day to end FGM, so take it over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm very proud of you. I know I didn't know Tony before, but I know Naima a long time ago. She's a passionate person. And that's why even if I'm very busy, when she sent a message to me to say to participate, I will cancel everything and come in because I know what she's doing for the community, for Africa, for the world. So congratulations to you, Naima, and your team, your dynamic team. And I'm very, very happy to meet Dr. Christ. You know, this is Nigeria, and there are many, many million people. So you can't see, you can't know all the best person that is a very, but I'm so happy to meet you, doctor, really. So we have to work together, and I stay at your disposal, and please, I will be in touch with you. We have to work together.
Please.
So,
Yeah, sure.
And so I learned a lot with this conversation, really. And I have learned a lot of things. And thank you to the, what is the name, the young lady we've read Scarpa, I don't know what is her name again. Catherine, yeah. So all of you. So now, some people are questioning the FGM will be end at 2030. Yes, we can do that. It's possible. The only thing that we have to do is to continue to work, to fight, to work is possible. And it's not African level only, it's a universal situation. That's why after bringing the protocol of Maputo, the first line was written in my office, and after the February 6th in 2012, we convinced the people at the UN level to have this resolution 67146. Now we have that one also. So we have all instruments, but I told to the UN, saying always, okay, we should end on 2015. Now you put 15 more years. Please don't tell me if I'm here or not here. Don't tell me in 2030, we have to go to 2045. No. It must be end at the 2030. So, and we forget about the generation. I don't want really hear about one generation. We will end in one generation. This is not true. One generation, is it my generation? Is it Dr. Christ's generation? Is it Naima's generation? Is it my daughter's generation? If you said one generation, which generation? So we have to put the end, the date is 2030. 2030, we must end the FGM. And we can do that if we continue like that with the same stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And on that note, like Dr. Murasanda Kuyate said, it can end by 2030. And like our good friend Marissa said, less talk, more action. So I think on that note, we need to just keep absolutely the conversations going. There are several WhatsApp groups that we are part of to kind of keep the conversations going as part of GMC. There's also a Men and FGM WhatsApp group created where conversation can continue to be had and collaborations can be made. And as Global Media Campaign, we're here to support in any way we can to amplify all this incredible work that everybody's doing. So thank you everybody very much. Thank you, Tony, for hosting this incredible session. Thank you to UNFPA for sponsoring this session for us today. And thank you everybody for your time. Good evening and enjoy your night.
Bye.